So we get our first horror movie of the 2010s decade, even though we've had The Turning and Gretel and Hansel, which I have seen. But let's get into this. The Grudge 2020. It's your boy Josh, aka Future Filmmaker 394 Reviews, where you talk film, TV, and music, and I'm here to give you my first horror movie review of 2020s, as well as my first horror movie review of the year, and that is for one of my most anticipated horror movies, and that is for The Grudge 2020. So The Grudge 2020 is the remake, reboot, sequel, continuation, whatever, to the American Grudge franchise that starred Michelle Gellar, based on the very popular Japanese film series of the same name, starring John Cho, Betty Gilpin, Andrea, Riseborough, Shaye, Jacki Weaver, and like I said, this is the reboot or remake, but it's really the fourth movie, or The Grudge 4. And the story of The Grudge 2020 is that after a young mother murders her family in her own house, a single mom and a detective tries to investigate and solve this case. Later, she and the detective discovers that the house is cursed by a vengeful ghost that dooms anybody who enters this house with a violent death. So it's basically the same thing we've seen before in the other two American films and the Japanese Grudge films, but this time, instead of being PG-13, they want it to be rated R. So let's get into The Grudge 2020. If you're new to the channel, be sure to come over, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification to get notifications when videos are up, what's coming up to the channel, and what is going to be part of what I do announce in my community tab, or what I post in my community tab. And be sure to follow all my social media links in the description box down below, and as well, if you want to send fan mail, or if you want to, of course, donate money to my chime, you can message me privately at Gmail, and I'll tell you what you need to do to do that. But anyways, let's continue on with The Grudge. I have to tell you, the idea of a new Grudge movie was a pretty good idea from the start when they announced it back in 2016, because the last Grudge movie that came out was 2009, and that one didn't work out. And it was set to come out initially in 2019, but it got pushed back to 2020 instead. And as far as the Grudge Ju-On franchise on both America and Japanese side, I really like the first two Ju-On films, directed and written by Takashi Shimizu, released back in 2002 and 2003. I find them very effective, very creepy, and they have great stories to tell within them. I even enjoyed the crossover where Keiko and Samara Morgan from The Ring, they fight each other. That came out in 2016. It's a Japanese film. It's dumb, it's crazy, it's silly, but it's also a lot of fun to watch, and it knows what it is. As far as the American Grudge films, I really liked the 2004 Grudge movie with Sarah Michelle Gellar. There wasn't the greatest character development, and it did have some restraints due to its PG-13, but it was still a somewhat effective, good attempt at remaking The Grudge. And the sequels, The Grudge 2, released back in 2006, I saw back in 2011, and it's easily my favorite of the Grudge trilogy, released by Sony. And The Grudge 3, which was direct-to-video and came out in 2009, was pretty bad. Also, another reason for this is because you have Sam Raimi, who is one of my favorite directors, who produced the original Grudge trilogy, and who also directed the awesome Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, was coming back to produce this one, and that was really cool, as well as the cast involved Andrea Riseborough, John Cho, Shaye, as well as the fact it was rated R, and as well as that you have the director Nicolas Pesce, who's directed 2 other movies I haven't seen. I have reasons to be excited for this. but unfortunately, with all of that, The Grudge 2020 is not terrible, but not very good. I'm just in the middle. I am pretty much let down here. But let's get into what I liked, because there are some positives here. I will say there are some positives here, so let's get into it. I will say that the music by the Newton brothers, who did an excellent job on the music for Dr. Sleep, is actually really effective and really creepy. It doesn't match the creepiness of Christopher Young's musical score the first two American Grudge films, but it's still very effective. And I will say that the acting is really strong despite the bland and lackluster material that these actors are given to work with. Andrea Riseborough as Detective Modun was really great. I enjoyed John Cho. John Cho, it's nice to see him step out of his comfortable zone, which is usually comedies like Harold and Kumar, or sci-fi like Star Trek. And in 2018, he was amazing in Searching, and I still think that movie should have been nominated for the best Oscar for his performance and for its direction alone. But I say John Cho, he was really good in this movie for what he was given. Betty Gilpin and Demián, Bichir and Jacki Weaver, and their performances were really great. But Lynn Shaye is easily the standout of this movie. There is this one scene with her character that was shown in the secondary trailer where she's laughing, and I felt creeped out when she has blood all over her hands and her face, and when she basically has this knife in her hand. If you've seen the trailer or if you've seen the movie, you know I'm getting that. And that did get to me. And I will say that Nicolas Pesce's direction is really well done, despite the mediocre script that is provided for him. And I thought that the cinematography was really well done. And it's a good movie to look at as far as its camera work and color palettes by the cinematographer Zachary Gould. Also, this is a hard R, and it does use this R rating to its full advantage as far as disturbing imagery and the blood throughout. And for the two scenes where the Grudge demon Keiko shows up, I actually got creeped out. The problem is, however, the scares aren't as effective as they should have been. So, which leads me into my not so great positives. The biggest problem that The Grudge 2020 has is with its characters and its scares. The characters aren't really anything to run home about due to the lack of characterization given for them. You go from one character story to the next one, and the story isn't the problem because I can understand what's going on. And I was paying attention, so it wasn't like it was convoluted in the way of Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. It was just the way these characters are written are so paper thin and hollow that you don't really feel the emotional impact that you would really want to feel when the Grudge demon comes and kills them. And I also feel like it was that the writer and Nicolas, director of the film, of course, Nicolas Pesce was given more time and given more development for these characters, then I could have forgiven the fact that the scares aren't the greatest. But since Nicolas Pesce is a talented filmmaker from the other two movies that he has made, which I have yet to see, the writing and the characters should have been a lot better. The characters in the original trilogy from 2004 to 2009, they weren't 100% fleshed out, but for some reason, they had more character development and motivation to them than in this. But in this movie, you have a few sequels that try to flesh these characters out, but it's not very long because it focuses more on the jump scares and more than the characters, and that's pretty sad considering you have a phenomenal cast involved with this. Another big problem, which I'm gonna say again, is the scares. The scares when the actual Grudge curse shows up in the two scenes that are here are actually pretty scary, and I did find them pretty frightening. But the rest of the scares is just jump scare galore, and I don't mind jump scares when you do them right, but if you just gonna shove jump scare after jump scare after jump scare into the audience's face, because it's a horror movie and you need jump scares, is not really 100% effective. I think jump scares are, while they can be done right in a few couple of great films, there are a lot of movies where jump scares are just quick, cheap scares out of your audience. The point of a scary movie is that you want to be scared as you watch the movie by building up to what could happen. Whether it's a haunted house movie, or if it's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, or if it's a Friday the 13th movie, or if it's a Michael Myers movie. Or in this case, a movie like this. And this movie just doesn't build up to the scares as any horror movie should do. When the scares come in any horror movie, you want to feel uncomfortable, you want to feel unease, you want to feel like you're in danger, and feel like these characters are not going to make it out of the situation alive. And this new Grudge movie just pushes you hard as it can with the most jump scares every 5 minutes, to the point where it becomes increasingly annoying, with no build-up and no anticipation. Not to mention, from every single scene, it is very, very predictable of what is going to happen next. And I feel like the writing doesn't really help either in terms of his story. This is the exact story we've seen before in the previous Grudge movies, even the Japanese Grudge films, and they don't even attempt to go for anything different here, which is my biggest disappointment with this film, because with the director and writer like Nicolas Pesce, and the producer involved, and the cast involved, you would think that they would have a chance to come up with something different and clever for this reboot. The Grudge 2 may have some problems, but I did like they try to expand on the whole thing with Keiko and why this curse happened in the first place. And The Grudge 3, as bad as that movie is, I did like the interesting concept of them bringing in a sister for Keiko. But again, when it comes to this movie, they don't really change anything, because I do give the director and filmmakers for trying. This is not going to end up on my worst movies of 2020 list. It'll be on the disappointing list, but it's not going to be on the worst movies of 2020. Because, for one, when this came out, it was only January, and now it's only February 3rd as I'm recording this. And trust me, we will get more bad horror movies. The Turning is the first bad movie. That's going to be around, of course. And I do give the filmmakers for trying, but there's not really much to wrong home about it. And also, this movie can become quite a drag sometimes. This movie can be quite boring. And this movie is only an hour and 34 minutes long. And for some reason, I did find myself quite bored for most of the time. And I did find myself laughing at two unintentionally hilarious parts. Mainly when you get to the end of this movie. Don't get me started on that ending. I'm not even going to spoil it. All I'm going to say is that by the time this movie ended, it felt so incomplete and predictable. Alright, before I give you my final thoughts on The Grudge 2020, like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. Click that bell to get notifications for when videos are coming and premiering, as well as stuff I'll be posting on my community tab. If you want to donate money to the channel, be sure to do so. You can message me privately through email, and I will show you a way. I'll give you a way to do that through Chime. And if you want to send fan mail, you can do that as well. And just, if you are new to the channel, or if you're also channel, hit the subscribe button, do all those things. And also be sure to follow all my social media links in the description box down below to my Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Stardust, Letterboxd, etc., etc. With that being said, let's give you my final thoughts on The Grudge 2020. The Grudge 2020. Did I hate the film? No. Are there things in this movie I did like? Yes. Do I give the filmmakers credit for trying? Yeah. But overall, this isn't the worst movie ever made, nor is it one of the worst movies of the year, or the worst movies I've ever seen, because this was only January, and trust me, there's going to be a lot more terrible movies, especially horror, and in this decade I'm going to have to put up with, especially with this year. After we cried. Do not tell my sister, who likes After. It does have some good elements to it, as far as cinematography and some of the performances, and the few creepy moments that I actually thought were really scary. But this movie suffers from a rehashed story, uninteresting characters, a sluggish pace, and it doesn't do anything new, as well as a wasted potential of a reboot of what could have been the start of a new series of Grudge movies. Because I saw the potential in this film as I was watching it. There was potential, but ultimately, my first disappointment of 2020. I'm gonna go ahead and give The Grudge 2020. I'm gonna be fair, and I'm gonna give this a wait for Netflix. Simply because there were some positives I just mentioned. But this is not a movie I would recommend. If you're a fan of the Grudge movies, you may not like this movie. If you're not into the Grudge or Japanese Grudge movies, you won't like it. But anyways, let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Grudge series. Did you like it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you in between? I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys keep it cool. Enjoying the Epictasticness.